Okay. Let's go ahead and get this underway. Did I not switch over? My thing did not switch over. Can we switch over, please? Yeah, this is quality stream material, K-BAS. Alright, cool, fine. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome and welcome. Let me go ahead and cut the music off. If someone comes in and says they want me to have music, we'll put the music back on. But for now, let's go ahead and shut it off. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream from Keobastein. This won't really be a gameplay video. In fact, I really should call my title K-TEIN. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that now because I'm not really going to be playing. I'm going to be mostly talking. So where's my K-TEIN? Where is it? Bear with me. Huh. Yeah, you know, I'll work that out. We won't dally too long. So, welcome to another, actually I'm going to say episode of K-TEIN, telling everything in nuance. So, been a while since my last K-TEIN, which was probably almost 7 months ago, 8 months ago. I can't remember off the top of my head. That's how long it's been. But I'm here to talk about Phantom Breaker Omnia. Right now, as you can see on the screen, or if you're just listening, on my screen, it shows that I have 63.5 hours of playtime on Phantom Breaker Omnia on my Steam platform. And while I don't have it on screen, I also have my Switch right here. Maybe you can hear my Switch. Maybe you can't. Let's see. Anybody who has a Switch will probably know that is the navigation. But my Switch, it tells me that I played Phantom Breaker Omnia for 45 hours on my Switch. And then I do have Phantom Breaker Omnia on my PS3, that's mostly for locals. I haven't played on that extensively because primarily PC is my primary platform. I just have the PS4 one to play with friends who are on the that's a PS3, PS4, Sony console, and whatnot. So I have maybe 5 hours. So let's just say 63 hour plus 45. That's what, almost at least over 100 hours. So I got currently over 100 hours right now on Phantom Breaker Omnia. Mostly with grinding or playing the game online. So the reason why I'm doing this episode because I have words for right now the current state of Phantom Breaker Omnia. I got my impression, my current feelings on the game. And right now, my current feelings are, for the most part, mixed to frustration, if you will. Mixed to frustrations. So let's go ahead and talk it further. Mixed. The reason I'm saying it's mixed because right now I really want to currently love Phantom Breaker Omnia based on these few principles. One, this is basically Phantom Breaker's debut into the International West. Any person who's been following the series knows that Phantom Breaker Omnia has been, Phantom Breaker series as a whole technically started way back in 2011, maybe 2012 if we want to be maybe a bit more accurate. And for the most part, it stayed domestically in Japan for a good long time. There were plans to bring it to the West, but those plans didn't pan through. So any people who really wanted to get their hands on Phantom Breaker Omnia, I keep saying Omnia, get their hands on Phantom Breaker, they had to go out of their way to get their hands on the game, which is why the game has developed, if anything, relative obscurity to almost non-existence in the fighting game sphere or even the gaming sphere as a whole. So the fact that now I can actually go to any of the current main platforms, pick up Phantom Breaker Omnia digitally through the store. There's a physical coming later on. The fact you can go and just grab the game immediately. The fact that now I can network with people around a game that just recently came out, because like I could just go online, do a random rank match, and I'll eventually find somebody because the game is now accessible for everybody and whatnot. Compared to what I had to deal with playing Phantom Breaker Extra, which was jump on multiple different networking community from Facebook, Discord, and any other type of networking community to find people who play Phantom Breaker. That took a lot of work and a lot of effort just to kind of network and find other people who are fans of this game and plays the game. Like matchmaking was just hell on the PS3. So the fact that Phantom Breaker Omnia is just an accessible game now at this point makes me appreciate Phantom Breaker Omnia. The other thing that makes me appreciate Phantom Breaker Omnia, there are a lot of quality of life features that the game offers us compared to the old game, such as the HUD is now much more sleek for the most part. It's not my favorite HUD because I don't currently like how the game represents the titching gauge, but that's not also anything that's going to make me break the game per se, or make me say, oh, the game is terrible for that in that regards. But besides that, the HUD is nicer. We now get information of what our attack damage are doing, so we can know what attacks do what damage, have some idea what the damage scaling is in the game due to a combo meter, hit stun meter, and whatnot. And what else I want to say? Well, I mean, we got the game's reference, so now I can at least have a better idea what are some of the game's intended mechanic, because Phantom Breaker Extra was all Japanese, so I was just left to just infer what was the intended design by playing the game and inferring from what I experienced while playing it. So I like the Phantom Breaker Omnia. Another thing that I love about Phantom Breaker Omnia, since it is on modern game console, because one, Phantom Breaker Omnia, it's not like this is a full brand new game. And what I mean by that is Phantom Breaker Omnia source code is based off Phantom Breaker Extra, and Phantom Breaker source code is based off original Phantom Breaker, which is a way back Xbox 360 game. And let's just say that even back on the 360 or the PS3 era, where Phantom Breaker Vanilla and Phantom Breaker Extra were present, there was optimization issue there. The game definitely had a lot of frame rate drops that didn't feel either natural or just felt cumbersome to deal with. Not only that, there was the excessive loading. Like the game took a long time to load. If you had the physical disc for either the 360 or the PS3 version, and if you didn't install the game to your hard drive, the round intermissions took, like, from one round to the next round, took almost 30 seconds. Let me not say 30. At least up to 15 seconds or more just for the round intermission. If you were saving, let's say you changed these settings in training mode, the game took even a while to just save the training information, the training state you have, and get you back into the training mode. I even have Phantom Breaker Omnia, not Omnia. I have Phantom Breaker Extra on the emulator, and even on the emulator, which is all digital, and everything, is, I won't say the PS3 emulator is optimized, but even on the emulation side, Phantom Breaker had performance issues overall. Phantom Breaker Omnia, I can say it doesn't have any performance issues for the most part. Like frame rate drops, nah. Inputs being dropped, with my limited ability to actually test that, it doesn't feel like things get dropped. So again, I love those aspects because it basically makes me feel that the game is in a better state because of that. But why am I still saying I have mixed feelings on the game? Well, there's a direction of the battle system and system direction that they took Phantom Breaker Omnia that has me on the mixed side. For starters, when they were sharing information on Phantom Breaker Omnia's development, they had developers diary. Basically, it allows us to get some idea of what the developers are tending to do with Phantom Breaker Omnia. And I don't remember which diary number it is. Maybe I will put it down in the description. Actually, most likely I should link it in my description if I do host this video up. Because I am going to clip this and put this video up on my YouTube channel. But in one of the developers diary, they did say Phantom Breaker Omnia is basically going to be what Phantom Breaker Extra couldn't be. Phantom Breaker Extra development was cut short. The game stopped receiving support back around 2013. He claimed, so the development side said they were looking to do a little bit more with Phantom Breaker Extra before they basically just had to stop development because they stopped getting support. So the fact that Phantom Breaker Omnia is essentially supposed to be the next evolution of what Phantom Breaker Extra is, I question some of the changes they made. In fact, in another developer's diary, when they say they made some system changes, they said, when we made Phantom Breaker Extra, we learned that a lot of people said the game was, if anything, overly complicated, or if anything, more complicated, and that they felt that certain tools were considered too strong and powerful, so they attempted to pull back those tools' power. Primarily, it looks like it was, if anything, I think Overdrive and Emergency Mode are the tools they're talking about that they nerfed for the most part. And a bit of extra style as well and whatnot. And tension gauge, I'm going to say tension gauge, but I'll elaborate that later. So they said, yeah, we decided to pull back on some of the power, or quote, complexity of Phantom Breaker Extra and make Phantom Breaker Omnia a bit more streamlined and simple to understand. And in some regards, I could say they are, if anything, successful, but it came at a cost, a caveat, if you will. And that cost is essentially some things are overtuned and undertuned. For example, in Phantom Breaker Extra, basically, if you were caught, the guard gauge was basically kind of low, if anything. Let me say kind of low. It was, yeah, I'm fine. But let's say it was not what Phantom Breaker Omnia is. Right now, the guard gauge in Phantom Breaker Omnia, it's pretty much very hard to get a guard crush for all intents and purposes, because basically the guard gauge just lasts very long. In fact, there was a string when they did a Q&A. I asked them, "Hey, I noticed that the guard gauge lasts very long. Is this a reflection of the final product, or is this just during the demo?" Because that's how I was able to find out that the guard gauge lasts very long, because I played the demo, the limited demo. And when they asked Q&A after the demo, I said, "Hey, is it because of this demo that the guard gauge lasts very long, or is this going to be a reflection of the final product?" And they told me, yes, the guard gauge does last very long. It was a conscious decision to design the game where guard crush does not happen as often. And for me, one of the reasons that was, if anything, concerning for me as someone who played Phantom Breaker Extra a lot was, well, for starters, there are some characters who had very limited mix-up potential altogether, but they had good pressure option, and the reason why they have very good pressure option is because that lends itself to guard crushing and whatnot. Even better, let's go ahead and look at styles. Phantom Breaker, the game gives you 3 different styles: quick, hard, and extra. Those 3 styles changes a lot of parameters of characters, from health stats, damage output stats, how fast your meter build, on top of also how long your guard gauge lasts. Quick style had the lowest guard gauge, so they were very prone to being locked down on pressure. Now here was a caveat for that. Quick style had a lot of mobility. Quick style had a lot of mobility. They had the ability to double jump, back air dash. Their dash distance was the longest. You actually have better frame data in quick style, you build a meter quickly in quick style, and in fact, you even had the highest basically guard crushing potential. So when it was quick style versus quick style, with if either person put either in the guard block state, there was going to be more or less a guaranteed guard crush. And in fact, that was one of the strengths of quick style's overdrive. But I feel I might be getting ahead of myself, so let me back away. Quick style had a weak guard gauge, but because of that, they had a lot of combo opportunities, a lot of mobility, and was generally safe. So I thought, I thought the design philosophy on Extra was, we give you a lot of mechanics and ability to move and keep yourself safe and quick. But if you do get caught on the defense, your defense is very limited due to your not being able to guard for too long. And you had another mechanic called evasion, which is like a alternate guard. They had that as well, but that even was really as effective. But even that got changed in Omnia. But I won't go into that. Regardless, being on the defense as a quick style character was dangerous. Now that the guard gauge is excessively long, it basically just very, very strong, and it's hard to guard crush. That weakness of quick style is no longer present. Or even worse, that was one of the strengths of hard style. Hard style had a very good guard gauge, so it was very difficult to guard crush a hard style person. But because of that, they have one of the worst frame datas. They have a hard time moving because they only had one jump and whatnot. They did not have the combo opportunities similar to quick style and whatnot. So, but it's like, hey, you can at least be comfortable being on the defense with hard style because you had a good guard gauge. Now that basically almost every style has a good guard gauge, it basically diminishes the value of playing hard style while also just making quick style seem more better. Another thing that they made changes to Phantom Breaker Omnia, making from Phantom Breaker Extra going to Omnia, is damage output. Now, Phantom Breaker technically was a pretty high damage game for the most part. For the most part, it was a very high damaging game. But let's just say this. In Phantom Breaker Omnia, there's now a lot more damage scaling put into the game. But that's not really the worst part of it. The worst part is essentially quick style now damage outshines hard style considerably. Like meterless hard quick style can do 3K off most touches, while hard style can barely break 2,000. And as I mentioned, hard style does not have the ease of combo ability as quick style. And if you even look at, since I'm here, let's look at the game's manual. They gave me a manual page. Let's look at this game manual. So let's, if you can see this clearly, let's see if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in? How do I zoom in here? All right, zoom this way. All right, in this game's manual styles, this display which of the three styles, quick, hard, and Omnia. Quick style has good mobility and excels at dealing combos. Hard style has slower speed but has higher health and focuses on high damage output. Omnia style is somewhere in the middle, a little closer to quick style and whatnot. So as you can see, they basically emphasize, hard style does damage. But if you've seen any videos or even talked to people, even one top player, Mahako, even says, something feels wrong. Why is quick style doing more damage than hard style? Like right now, I play Shizuka. That's one of my main characters, Shizuka, but also Artifactor. I'll get onto characters later, but the thing is, one combo with Shizuka does about 33 point damage with the same starter from, let's say, a Throw, since Throw is one of the better starters. Hard style, which again does not have double jump, but I try to do similar combo outs for each style. With hard style, the damage is 2K, 2,000, while quick style is 3,000. And here's the thing, understand also. In Extra, Quick Style did not have that type of damage because one, how damage scaling worked, but then not only that, to compensate for Quick Style not doing that much damage in the older game, it built a lot of meter. For example, Quick Style, like the same combo I did for Shizuka and Quick Style, it goes from 0% to at least 101% on Quick Style when I do the combo fully. I do it for Hard Style, we're at 67%. And mind you, again, Quick Style has a lot more combo ability, and when they start using meter, that combo ability goes even higher. In fact, how about nothing? Another change that was made in pardon me. So another change that was made from Phantom Breaker Extra going to Omnia Style was Counter Burst, the 5 SP, your knockback attack. All of them always took 25% from Phantom Breaker Vanilla to Phantom Breaker Extra. They all took 25%. One of the things that made Quick Style have bigger combo opportunities is they were able to use their counter burst, their map back attack, and then dash or jump cancel them for 50% meter. And the fact that counter burst also took 25%. Essentially, if Quick Style wanted to extend this combo, it needed to use 75%, which I thought was fine and dandy and appropriate because it allowed more combo opportunities that other styles really couldn't get. And not only that, most counter bursts were higher priority, for a few characters safe and whatnot. Now going into Omnia, that counter burst button doesn't take away any meter. So basically, it's just as long as I have 50%, I can do more damage. So remember I said how Quick Style can do basically 3.5k from that almost any conversion. Now you can add maybe another 500 to maybe 700. Basically, they could break 4k with that, and all you have to spend is 50% meter to do that. For any other style, like Hard and Omnia Style, they have to use resources. Normally either Overdrive, which technically only Hard Style and Quick Style have. Omnia doesn't have that, but then you can also use your EX moves to like OTG pickup or combo extend, combo filler. So they have to use at least 100% meter to try to even get those extended combo potentials. And again, they're using resources. And even when I do the user resource for Hard Style, I'm still not breaking 3k compared to Quick Style, who now is breaking 4k, and that's only with them using half a bar. 25% of a bar. Again, this game manual says, hey, Hard Style is slower, but has higher health and focus on high damage. Now, maybe they really mean, well, you have very, very much higher health, so you can at least outlast longer. And you can sort of say that is the case going into Omnia. There is a lot of pistol life situations that Hard Style get to survive better than Quick and Omnia Style. But the fact that Hard Style is slower, has lower mobility, and the opportunities to even take their turn or mount an offense is lower, is almost null and void. They don't really. It's like, yeah, I get to last longer, but I'm just making my opponent have to touch me more. The small bits of opportunities to try to mount my own counterattack is still slow and weak. And the reason why is, well, for starters, let's go on to the next thing. I did say how I felt the styles were overtuned. Here's one of the next thing I have an issue with Phantom Breaker Omnia, or rather mixed feelings on. Well, actually, before we go further, no, let's stick on the damage thing. Let me show you something. I'm going to show you a video. I hope these people who uploaded videos will forgive me for not getting permission, since I don't really know how to communicate them because they're Japanese uploaders. But to get to my point, here is a Phantom Breaker match video. We have a Quick Style Mikoto and a Hard Style Itsuki. Now, to be fair, let's not one thing. Character dudes have different stats. Mikoto has pretty much a well-balanced stat from health, damage, and speed. Itsuki, pretty much high speed, pretty much high damage, but I think maybe not that high of defense, I think. So Isuki is a pretty high character, but for right now, we're gonna just stick with the fact that when you're watching this video with me right now, just focus that we're seeing a quick style Mikoto and a hard style Isuki. Look at the different interactions and look at the damage disparity between them. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and stop here just so we don't get overwhelmed. If you took the time to like count the amount of interactions, let's right now look at the character's health. Itsuki is near 30%, and essentially Mikoto is also near. Okay, now how about it? Itsuki is 20, Mikoto's 30. If you count the amount of times that Mikoto had to hit Itsuki and then do combos to ease out more damage, she had to hit the character and do a lot more hits to do some meaningful damage. Itsuki only touched Mikoto 3 times, and now look where she's at. And Itsuki even has higher damage, has more combo potential if she had choose to use meter, but as a hard style character, she really didn't need to try to exhaust that option because I already do high damage. Now we have to consider tension. And in fact, this is why I want to talk about tension. Right now, the tension, basically in Estra's estimate, this is tension at roughly maybe 40% right now. This is where the tension at 40%. Let's go ahead and back up. Now look at, again, the type of damage that Itsuki does when she just does a poke. Oh, well, darn. Look at that. You see the type of damage Itsuki's doing? Like, she's already got Mikoto at nearly 50%. Granted, the first touch was like 2 few light touch, and then another one was a good poke to her special, and then another poke to her special. She's already at 50%. So the damage output so one of the reasons why I thought it was okay for Hardstyle to be in the state it was in Estra was because once they got a bit of tension going and they landed a hit, it fucking hurt and whatnot. Now, let's look at Phantom Breaker Omnia video and look at this match. Now, actually, remember I said about the character stats? So, I want to talk about character stats right now. One, Artifactor, she's a character with barely any health value. She gets actually one-shot kill pretty often right next to Finn, maybe Infinity, as well as I think maybe Remy also has pretty bad low health. And Tokia, I kind of want to bring up the game, but Tokia's damage is not terrible. But Tokia is also in hardstyle. Like, in fact, many of the memes that were shown on Phantom Breaker Omnia is how Artifactor will almost get killed by one touch and whatnot. By 1 or 2 interactions. So now let's look at Omnia and see this Tokia who's actually using hardstyle, who's actually doing combos against a character who's technically about to have very low health, who's also in Omnia style, which doesn't really have that much an improved health value. And look at the damage disparity between what this Tokia is doing. All right, now we already got some clash going on, so now Tichimo is technically probably at 40% like it was in Estra. Look at that. Just for that one combo, she basically matched Tokia's multiple different hits. And this is Omnia style. This is not supposed to be this. Yeah, look at this combo that Tokia is doing. And again, tension is high, or at least now at 60%.
なんでインパクトしたの？まあいいや。
So if you've seen from that video, the Tokyo had to touch the Artifactor, who's a character who's technically supposed to have very low health. She's in Omnia style, which it only basically barely gives her 2 blips of defense. But hold on, you know what? Hold on for a second. Let's go ahead and bring up Phantom Breaker's page. There we go. Before we go further, let's look at the characters page. Okay, so as you can see, Tokyo is considered to have even high attack damage value and whatnot. And let's look at Artifactor. Look at this. Defense. Minuscule as fuck. And just for comparison, let's look at Mikoto. So since we normally look at Extra, again, Mikoto pretty much balanced, almost high stats really. And then let's look at Itsuki. In fact, if we were comparing this from Tokyo to Itsuki, Tokyo is supposed to have even more higher damage than Itsuki and whatnot, but she has more speed than Tokyo. And the damage she was doing in Extra compared to now the damage we're seeing in Omnia is massive. Basically, some reason either had to this game handles damage scaling. Basically, maybe only the first or 2 attacks will have the high damage output. But then there's also Tension Mode. I'm pretty sure they nerfed Tension Mode's damage output and whatnot. And this is where my issue comes in. As you can see in that video, the Tokyo is basically working much more harder and just to basically do damage, but while Omnia style Artifactor, who actually has no fucking damage, was basically matching him in damage just because just because her ability to combo is much more open because she's in Omnia style. Omnia style is not as slow as hard style and whatnot. But again, hard style about to have more damage, but the damage disparity is just fucking there. And then we count the fact that now let's look at actually look at some mechanics if we may. Let's look at some mechanics for some more things. Game system. Actually, here's another thing that also kind of really hurts me about freaking how the game operates. One thing I've noticed also going from Phantom Breaker Extra to Omnia, the game has a consistent frame rate, but the game does seem to miss inputs a lot. Granted, this is also due to me both playing online and offline. But actually, no, any people who did play Extra going to Omnia, a lot of us have been saying, yo, we realize it's much more harder to jump cancel in this game. It's much more harder to Tiger Knee in Omnia than it is in Extra. It feels like things became much stricter. Not only that, this also comes into air attacking. In fact, here we go. I hate what they did with the air attacking system, and I hate what they did with grabs. Grabs and Phantom Breaker Extra was two buttons, your medium and your hard button. The reason why I hate it now is because one, throw used to have throw with, but now that it's a proximity grab akin to King of Fighters and let's say Guilty Gear or Guilty Gear O of Assassin's Core and Etzerd, now you can basically option select because a lot of characters for heavies also are their like unique for normals that does high that has low power ratio on a hit and it has low pressure on a hit and it's usually not really punchable, so you can't even really force somebody to whiff a throw because there is no throw whiff unless they're like invulnerable or some state. But then this also makes jumping and grab much harder because if someone was air jumping a lot, either you could put them in guard stun and then do air block stream in Extra that highly destroy their guard gauge. And in fact, let me go ahead and showcase that real quick. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm sorry, I am going on a tangent. and I'm not good at staying consistent. I hope you can bear with me for that. But you know, I am somehow disappointed. I have a video called Phantom Breaker Character Overview. That's why I put in the title, and yet my video is not coming up. Why is that? Oh, there's a character review. I might check that out. Where the fuck is... Hi, sorry. Now I'm just getting upset because I actually have a video called Character Overview, but why is it not coming up? Not your name. I'm going to see what they're about because they're doing character review. Where is my character overview? Phantom Breaker character overview. Well,
First day?
That is really silly. Yeah, Phantom Breaker character overview. Why is my video not coming up in the... Fuck YouTube algorithm. Fuck it. Sorry. So, one of the characters who I think has fell down from the game's, strength level is Rhea, because this is a character who was about pressuring, and I'll show you why real quick. Right now, this is Phantom Breaker Astra, just for people wondering or understanding. As you can see, immediate guard crash from basically the first interaction. This was the penalty of a quick style player for being caught air guarding. You basically will be caught into a pressure and be guard stunned. Now I did mention how again, quick style is another quick style character, so quick style does have high damage output. But even if you were in hard style, it was pretty much possible to keep people air guarding for a good period if you had your juggles on point. But then again, even if Rhea wasn't in quick style, the stuff she did was not exclusively to quick style. The same thing you saw could be done in hard style for the most part. So that was a strength of Rhea. She was able to get someone caught guarding, and they're air guarding. She basically was going to get a guard crush, basically a guard gate crush. And this was the weakness of quick style because one, besides the fact that quick style has low guard gauge, they can forward and back dash during guard block string, even high jump. They have double high jump because hardstyle doesn't have that. They also have the dodge you see where they just step to the side and sway and whatnot. And on top of it again, quick style has changed. Yeah, that's nothing. Now, hardstyle doesn't have change. I actually do like the change they made with hardstyle, where hardstyle gets an additional normal, which actually has pretty good damage scaling proration as a starter. So I do think that was fine. But quick style again still gets to have chain, which change enables a lot more mix up due to there are chains with standing overheads or low, and you can mix and match between them and whatnot. And again, like the other things I mentioned, quick style builds the guard gauge relatively fast. You have change. You able to use basically only just 75% of your meter to extend a combo pretty well. Again, you have overall good frame data on most things, so you weren't punishable on things being blocked. But again, when you put on the defense for quick style, your defense was very weak, and I thought that was appropriate since you had the mobility and the ability to combo easy. Now, in freaking dang Omnia style, or not in Omnia, this infamous video. So, alright, I pause it right here because I want to show you. Left side is extra. After like 2 strings of a full, let's say full block string from a character, a person guard crush. And I did the same setting. This is quick style Itsuki versus quick style Itsuki and extra. While in Omnia, I have quick style Itsuki versus another quick style Itsuki. And here's the thing now. You may not have noticed, but I'm going to go ahead and backtrack. But I actually have the Phantom Breaker Omnia clip sped up because just to show how long it takes for the first guard crush to happen. So once again, let's look at it. All right, I'm choosing to stop here because I want to emphasize something. So basically, I Master kept half health of chip damage, build a full bar, and I'm still having guard crush my opponent. And the one reason why guard crush is very important is not only just for the fact that it opens the opponent for stuff and whatnot, because that's what some characters need. But when a guard crush happens, that also builds the tension gauge as well. So for people who wanted to build tension gauge but was not good at either nullifying attack or moving and dashing around, your other way to build the tension gauge was to make a guard crush happen periodically, which that was definitely the case. I've already now, actually, here's something I also want to reference about Phantom Breaker Extra Side. One, when your guard crush gets broken, your guard gauge comes back after being broken, but it's also reinforced and stronger. Now, on Phantom Breaker Extra Side of the video, I think I already did 3 guard crush on the opponent. While in Phantom Breaker Omnia, which, one, I sped up the video. Second, I have pretty much the same parameters going on. I still haven't done a successful guard crush. The opponent is now at 60% low of life. And I haven't used any resources yet or anything. My opponent's health had to be at roughly 70% for a guard crush to occur. To me, that was fucking absurd. But apparently the reason for this is because, if someone is using the guard cancel option or high jumping, that was also going to lower the guard gauge. In fact, that is another thing about Phantom Breaker, and this is why I hate what they changed with the air guarding. High jump has... when you do high jump in Phantom Breaker Omnia, you have a few frames of invincibility. One, high jump has no startup, unlike games like Ultimate Marvel or Arcana Hearts and whatnot. When you high jump, there's startup. But in Phantom Breaker, it's instant. Not only that, when you are jumping, your hitbox is much smaller. So it's actually even technically harder to hit people when they're in the air. So that's why if you caught someone blocking and then you did a pressure on them, that was pretty impressive because also here's another thing. One, chicken guarding. How strong is chicken guarding in general in fighting games? For starters, in most games, when you chicken guard, there's no mix up really to be had because there's no high-low mix up for the most part. Second, you're basically because you're a moving hurt boss in air guard. Usually, if you're air guarding, that also means you can't grab unless you got a pseudo weird game where grabbing can still be done in guard stun. I can tell you now, there's very few games that does that. But Phantom Breaker is not one of those games. If someone's in a guard stun, you're not going to be able to grab them. Not only that, when you are put in air guard stun, there's only one set guard stun, and you're usually able to act out of it immediately. Not only that, if you're in a style that gives you double jump, such as Quick and Omnia, let's say you actually double jump and then you guard something. Your second jump is returns. You could do another jump, essentially do a triple jump. Not only that, I have mentioned how again, Quick Style can also air backdash when they're blocked and block stun and whatnot. So the fact that high jump has invincibility, you have a smaller hurt box, and now that guard crush basically doesn't exist, the only other way for a character to really punish someone who's chicken guarding, or now that high jump allows you a lot of air directional influence and those moving around. So not only do you have frame invincibility, are you able to move and guard at the same time, move and guard, you have very minimal guard stun, and you don't really suffer any guard state. At worst, the thing you can fear is, my opponent is going to do an air unblockable. And because your hitbox is still smaller, that's not even such an easy feat for many characters to do. Or worse, to do that, most characters have to rely on enhanced specials. There's only a few characters who have air unblockable moves that are meterless that leads to an advantage. otherwise most people have to use resources to try to punish someone who's to try to beat basically someone who's chicken guarding a lot in Omnia. So because of that, basically, if we looked at back in the old Phantom Breaker Omnia video, extra. In fact, let's just go ahead and go back to right now. The Asuki character is not going to be jumping around a lot because, well, one, we only have one jump, and it's easy for the character to anti-air them and whatnot. But at the same time, it's like, well, I can stay low risk, staying on the ground, and I can just, play still a ground good footsie game because jumping in the air had its risk and whatnot. It had its risk. Now in Omnia, you pretty much can just jump around whatever because what's going to happen? Little to nothing. See, you see how the Isuki is just, minding her spacing, just like, not really jumping as often because it's not really necessary for her to do that much as often. Because they're not trying to expose themselves to so much risk as opposed to what the Lakota needs to do and whatnot. Like, basically, Phantom Breaker Extra can be played ground footsie. You can do that because being on the ground, like jumping, because jumping had its risk. Now going to freaking Omnia, you don't need to stay on the ground. In fact, you're probably worse off staying on the ground because now you get easily side switch and whatnot. Like, people are just going to keep jumping around just because why not? And here's the thing, this is, again, an Artifactor who's a big, heavy joint fishing character. But now it's just like, well, look at it again right now. Natoya just, just jumping just for the sake of jumping because why not? Fine, let's just watch the whole video before I go into that. Yeah, now we're just kind of just jumping a lot. Granted, stages are slightly longer in Phantom Breaker Omnia, so maybe that's not fair. But the ground footsie is kind of just lost, I feel, going into Omnia, and I personally hate that. I hate that because I wasn't trying to play uber aggressive, have it jumping. That's not to say I don't want that to be present in Phantom Breaker Omnia. I do want someone. The reason I love Phantom Breaker was because I felt it gave you options. Now going into Phantom Breaker Omnia, I feel there are just there's a lot of false fallacy, or rather, there's a lot of false option. It does not feel. Now I've been playing. I played. How about this now? Let's go ahead and go into my thing now. So if I can be allowed to cheat for a second, by cheat, all right. In the Phantom Breaker community, people like to say that I'm the Phantom Breaker guru. I hesitate to call myself that because I don't even think that I'm that exceptional as a fighting game player personally. I don't think I'm exceptional personally. But why do people think I'm the fighting game guru for Phantom Breaker Omnia, or why they think I'm the Phantom Breaker guru? And because I have at least pretty good high understanding of what Phantom Breaker as a game does. And I have experience with it. I play Phantom Breaker Vanilla and Arcade to now Phantom Breaker Omnia. So for the sake of this point, let's say I do agree that I'm the Phantom Breaker guru. Fine, let's go and say that. I got right now 79 wins, 53 losses. So if we count that up, that's like 1, 2, 3. So I at least have 113 matches, something on my hand. Let's say that much. Let's look at my ranking. I actually been on rank 17 for a good minute. And the thing is, I don't even have that much matches compared to the people who are even under me and whatnot. I played Mahimba, I played a bit of Komi and whatnot. Like, my number of matches is actually lower. Maybe that could be just how weird Phantom Breaker handles its ranking. But I guess the point I want to say is this. I at least have some understanding of what Phantom Breaker is as a game. I have an understanding how the game can be played to some at least intermediate level. But in my current experience of playing the game right now, I feel like I am just handicapping myself playing hard style. I feel I'm just working harder for no real good rewards. The only active advantage I could say that I see with hardstyle are two things: the magic pistol, aka I can survive a bit longer, because I have a higher defense value. But it feels null and void if you can't really get the opportunity, and that's the issue with hardstyle. Hardstyle is not a style that really you're allowed to force your opportunity. You're more or less meant to punish and reverse a momentum. But with how low risk certain options are, it's pretty much not applicable. The other thing that's strong about Omnia style, when Omnia style does set burst in tension mode, then yeah, that damage output it could be significant. Only if it's done raw. If you do set burst in a combo, you're basically doing 5k. If you could do set burst during tension mode while having 200 meters or at least 100 meter or more, and then you do set burst as a raw hit, then you're at least breaking at least 6 to 7k and whatnot. So you could potentially do almost 8% damage from one interaction. But that requires me to have 1 meter, also the tension mode being up, and then be able to land that unblockable attack while my opponent's standing still. When they're in quick style, which one, you could high jump against the set burst because high jump has invisibility. You have more mobility, so you can just high jump away, backdash away, and everything. So it's not really that applicable or not that fair. So the fact that that's like the only advantage I could see with hardstyle, and then I see what the other style does, I'm like, I should just be playing the other style. Period. The fact that there was a Japanese tournament, there was like maybe 1 or 2 people using hard style, everybody else was using quick and Omnia style. The fact that most videos you see of people playing was using quick style. Like the majority just gone to quick style. Now to be fair, a lot of people like to use quick style or offensive driven toolset. That's what gets them excited. That's the easiest thing to do. It's very easy. Well, you might say easy. It's usually considered much easier to play an offensive gameplay than it is to play a defensive gameplay. And I just feel now in Omnia that's even made more apparent because there's now very little risk to the offensive gameplay of quick style or Omnia style. Hard style, you really can't play offensive. You can't really play aggressively that well because you have slower frame data. So things are not punishable, and quick style is punishable in hard style. You don't have as much chains in hard style as opposed to Omnia and quick style. Like all you got is just single pokes a lot of times outside of hard style's heavy chain, which again, most characters don't even really get any missiles or anything from that. So you don't get to really establish a momentum or offensive as hardstyle. You are meant to be passive, methodical with hardstyle. But in the current state of Omnia, I don't feel the game rewards that play style. Not as compared to quick style, not as much as compared to Omnia style, because there are some folks who feel that Omnia style is even the better style. I hesitate to agree, but I also won't say that they're wrong either, because rather hear the thing. Even if I disagree about Omnia style being the best style, it is unanimously agreed that hardstyle just feels the worst almost. From the people who I've spoken with to the people who comment and talk about the game and whatnot, hardstyle just feel like the worst. I think, yeah, and this is where, and then now we can probably go on to now why this game frustrates me. Alright. I can forgive Phantom Breaker Omnia for not having rollback. That is fine. Fair enough. No rollback. I cannot fucking forgive this game not having a lobby system. I cannot forgive how this game online even fucking operates. And by operate, I don't even, for starters, I feel the game's mislead. Sorry, there were a lot of times off stream when I was searching for matches, I put same region, 5-bar people searching. Here's a 0-bar international player. Here's a 1-bar person. The game would say, hey, we got the input to 7 frames of delay. I'm in matches, it feels even worse. Even Phantom Breaker even has an input delay simulator, and 7-frame input delay does not feel the same as what it is. It doesn't feel the same as it is in online. And this is on top of the fact that, as I mentioned, there are things where basically it feels like Phantom Breaker either loses your input in some regards, or how about this? Going back to what I said, a lot of people say we feel Tiger Knee and jump cancel are harder. And now that we have that on top of a even supposedly worse online experience, we can't record matches. We can barely record matches because there's no fucking lobby. We cannot properly do a tournament. Like right now, good friend Shinji is trying to do a tournament for the PS4 people. The problem with that is, since there is no lobby, since there's no spectating, we have to use the PS4 share play function, which means we have to do a lot of networking, and then someone's also going to be at a disadvantage because somebody needs to share play while playing the game online when the game online is not ideal. I'm not even going to say ideal. I barely want to call it good. I don't actually think it's good, but others want to say, oh, it feels better than Grand Blue. Fine. I will walk with them to that point that maybe it's better than Grand Blue. I don't think it's better than Grand Blue, but I will go ahead and walk with them to that plane. But is it one of the better input delay based games? Fuck all no. I actually went to play Blade Stranger and I felt way more at home. And Blade Stranger came out in fucking 2018. And I was also playing on the Switch version, mind you. I'm playing on the PC version, which probably has less input lag. I am fucking wired up and everything. And the online still feels fucking infuriating to deal with. And I play Yatagarasu. I play Battle Fantasia. Battle Fantasia was terrible to play online. Aquapaza was terrible to play online. This, almost infuriating to play online. To be fair, almost infuriating to play. So, yeah. I think Phantom Breaker Omnia can still be salvaged, and they are still doing work to support the game. But right now, if you really did ask me, outside the fact that Phantom Breaker Omnia is accessible, I almost rather will be playing Phantom Breaker Extra at this point. And that's going to be my final statement on that. I'm almost wishing I was playing Phantom Breaker Extra, just because I felt that was probably a near better product that felt much more focused and know what it was doing and whatnot. This 3 systems. We have options taken away from many styles. We homogenize the styles much more to the point where it feels like they account for one style but not the other. While characters did get balance changes, and Shizuka is now a playable character because in Extra she was barely a playable character. Would I take a playable Shizuka over everything else that Omnia kind of introduced? Not really. Not really. Because even now as I play Phantom Breaker Omnia, I want to play with Artifactor. You know, I guess we could go ahead and go to characters. So let's look at characters for a moment.
Choose your fighter.
So now we got character stats and whatnot. Let's look at Artifactor stats. This is based off Omnia, but basically 2 attack power, 0 defense, no speed. Fine. I'm assuming the reason this is the case is because they designed her to be a defensive playstyle. I could be wrong. The verdict could still be out. Either she's supposed to be a very defensive, low risk, a character who can, keep herself from being risky, or maybe she's a character who's supposed to be able to lock down and everything. Now, some people argue that they think she is a lockdown character. I personally disagree because one, this fucking character, if you're crouching, most of her stuff fucking miss. Most of her buttons miss. Her standing light whiffs. Her standing medium whiffs. If you're just crouching. Now maybe you'd be like, oh well, maybe they give her an overhead for that. The only fucking overhead she has is her forward heavy, and you can only convert off of that if you have meter or if you're in quick style and then you do counterburst and counterburst cancel. But that's only for quick style. It's like, okay, well, what about Omnia style? What about hard style? Now you get fucking nothing for that. And it's not even like her overhead is also safe either. It's not safe and whatnot. It has a little bit more extra range. Not more range than Mikoto's. Not more range than Waka's. It's just an overhead. Her only other overhead is her dashing heavy. But then here's the thing. Her dash speed is small. Minuscule. This is why I even question, they say, oh, she's a lockdown character. She's not a zoner, or she's not really a zoner because, one, a good portion of her buttons whiff, like her lower tap buttons, they are very low to the ground that you can jump over. And if you are standing, you can just jump over most of her buttons. Like her only really reliable zoning tool is her heavy, but all her heavy attacks have minimal council points to basically keep the pressure going and whatnot. And now that practically everything on her is unsafe, beside her standing 5 hard punch, everything else unsafe. Her special moves unsafe, her chains unsafe, her supers unsafe. That's why I don't know what I mean. Like, well, how does she actually lock people down in that regards? Her projectile doesn't go full screen. It just shoots 3 spears like in the mid-range space. It doesn't let her be plus. It doesn't let her be plus, and she get hits, that projectile disappears. So it's not really even that effective a zoning tool because it's not like it's full screen. She doesn't build that much meter from it. So that's why I'm like, okay, I think she's meant to be a defensive character because for starters, both her Phantom Breakers are counter supers and whatnot. They're counter supers. Her jumping special with the shield, she has a shield. So I'm like, okay, I think this is a defensive character. But here's the reason why I feel she's getting near to being one of the worst characters and probably not good. I can see Artifactor and Phantom Breaker extra and being a threat because how jumping is very scary. And Artifactor is kind of good at dealing with people who are jumping, but she doesn't really get to enforce her turn. She doesn't really get to keep. She doesn't really get. Alright, so the opponent has to now air guard approach her. Fine. There are so many times where I kind of point chicken guarding and just keep doing a lot of chip to their guard gauge, but they're not being guard broke because the guard gauge just lasts that fucking long. So I'm like, okay, so how do you play this character? Even the other Artifact players I know, they're like, nah, she needs to be played at Omnia or quick style. Hard style is complete early uses. In fact, most people will say they feel hard style is complete early uses, except for maybe, let's say, someone like Ren, who just does damage, who just does excessive damage. I mean, there's Shiro Makoto, who, just, again, only because the damage is near pretty high, but the fact that not every character can really do that, like a lot of characters just don't really benefit from that high damage, it's like, okay, well, then what's the point of hardstyle? Just only for damage. And even then, most people say you get mostly still better damage from quick style, or you can at least get comparable damage, maybe slightly under damage, but you have more meter, more opportunity, more flexibility. You have better flexibility, and a lot of people have gravitated towards that flexibility. That's why there's very little people using hard style. So this is what frustrates me about Phantom Breaker Omnia. It doesn't feel focused. It doesn't feel directed. Or better yet, I would say this. It feels directly. We know a lot of people like the Phantom Breaker Omnia. I mean, we know a lot of people like the Phantom Breaker Battleground. They say Phantom Breaker Battleground was fun, and Phantom Breaker the fighting game was terrible. So let's mimic what people love about Phantom Breaker Battleground into Phantom Breaker Omnia. And if you know me, I hate Battleground with a fucking passion. With a fucking passion that I hate Battlegrounds. I hate what it did to the series. I hate the repetition it garnered. I hate what it did to the beat 'em up genre. I fucking hate it. And here's another thing I can also say why I feel this game was focused, or rather, how about this? Keon, why do I hate Battleground? For starters, you don't get to pick your styles in Battleground. It's a beat 'em up game. So they just make you play with quick style mechanics. There is no air guard evasion. There really isn't a set burst. You don't have the Phantom Breakers that hardstyle have. You just each character just gets their quick style Phantom Breaker, and I'm like, fuck all that. I love the original Phantom Breaker because the style distinction, but between the option of I could play a hyper aggressive quick style, or I could play a slow methodical passive hard style. And let's look at fucking Phantom Breakers. And here's the reason why I really also fucking feel that this game really would just let's just favor Omnia style. Alright, we got character story mode. And that's alright, and character story mode, fuck it, let's just do it. So again, this is a game that lets you choose styles, right? Cool. Can we get to the next thing? Skip. Hold on for a moment. Let's just get to the first match. As you can see, we just go straight to the match. And what style am I on? Quick style. Now you think maybe it's just for this match. No, every fucking story mode match you're forced in quick style. Every fucking match. I don't fucking like quick style. I don't fucking care for quick style. Let me choose hard style. They do that in other games. Nah, we're just gonna make you play quick style because that's all we want to focus on. We know that's what people are going to play. No, don't give you the fucking option to choose. Now, here's what I do want to check. I haven't got to check this part yet, but I want to check this. So, Omnia style. Now, here's the thing. The story mode was based off the old games. So, I already knew that in Phantom Breaker S+ Vanilla, they didn't let you choose styles. But when Phantom Breaker Omnia came around, after you chose a match, you were able to choose a style. And I was like, well, thank God. See? Alright, I can choose a style. That kind of tells me how little focus and thought was put around how they implemented this and whatnot. I don't feel this game was focused. I feel, even right now, that the Breaker may have been a game that was just rush out the door. I don't want to throw disparity or shade at Rocket Panda Games because one, I love and thank you guys for giving me Phantom Breaker Omnia. I love that you resurrected Phantom Breaker. But right now, I am not at a point where I love this series. Do I love Phantom Breaker Omnia? No. I love Phantom Breaker series. I love and adore Phantom Breaker Extra. I do not currently love and adore Phantom Breaker Omnia, even though I can admit that Phantom Breaker Omnia has developed an improvement. The HUD is improved. The game performance seems improved. Everything else is a hard sell. It's a hard sell.
Phantom Breaker Omnia.
And that's my current impression right now. If someone was to ask me, hey, would you recommend Phantom Breaker Omnia? I'm going to call it a hard recommendation. What do I mean by that? If you're a person who really adores fighting games, if you're a person who wants something that is different from what other fighting games offer, yes, I can recommend Phantom Breaker Omnia. But if you ask me, in comparison to other products, if you ask me, does it meet the quality and standard of what a good and complete product is? No. The tutorial mode is, if anything, lies to you, or not even a tutorial mode. The game still has issues online where people are having issues finding matchmaking and whatnot. The game may not have performance issue, but it has other technical issues where a lot of controllers don't work well on it. I am fortunate to be using a Hitbox, a custom-made controller that's pretty much intuitive to work with many PC units, but there are many people who have troubles with the game button inputs not being where they should. And this is on the Steam version, which should technically be the most stable version, and it's not. The PS4 version, the matchmaking for the PS4 and the Switch version, we're now like maybe 3 weeks into the game, and the matchmaking for rank is still not available for them. The Xbox version is still having issues and whatnot. To be fair, a lot of games at launch has issues. That this is not only a Phantom Breaker Omnia problem, but because of that, but also because of the other smaller inconveniences that Phantom Breaker Omnia offers, that's why it's in the hard recommendation. There are things worthwhile about Phantom Breaker Omnia and whatnot, but I can also just as easily say you can go get a game that's more recent release. I could easily say Dragon Ball FighterZ would give you this and a little bit more. Unless you just want a different taste of a fighting game, you got Dragon Ball FighterZ that does better. You have Get Together Strive that does better. Melted Blood Type Lumina does better. And neither of those games are right now even in a... Sorry, Phantom Breaker is $40 right now. Those other games, $50. Yeah, Phantom Breaker doesn't have DLC, but what do we have? What are we left with? At least we get to go Strive. We know there's anticipation of more stuff and whatnot. Phantom Breaker, who knows what the future is going to hold. We are getting support. They have announced... In fact, that's what kills me. They took the time to announce a spicy edition of Phantom Breaker Omnia, which is apparently we get a different narrator and whatnot. And in fact, this is going to be my one and final point, and I promise this will be the final point, but you can also just see the timestamp. I feel they were more concerned with marketing Phantom Breaker as an IP than making it be a product worth being hyped for, making a product worth being engaged with. And maybe this is my fault for choosing to still grab the game. I got it for Steam, I got it for Switch, I got it for the PS4. I even did order me a limited run version. But that's now just out of pure love of the series. I still love the series. I love the concept of what Phantom Breaker has become and could have become before Omnia dropped and whatnot. I am an ardent lover and defender of the series, but that means I won't also shy away from its shortcomings either and whatnot. And for some, I'm not a person who even gets physical. As any of my associates, as Sal's Laos, as Ghosts, they will tell you I don't really fuck with physical stuff. I don't buy physical things because I have a hard time keeping them up because I'm not good at maintaining them, nor do I want the responsibility of dealing with that. But I chose to get Phantom Breaker Omnia limited run that's coming with a disc, a book and everything, all these other swag. And I don't plan to sell it, no. The value of me getting that limited edition collector thing is because I love the series. And I want to show that this is a proof that this game exists. The amount of people who came to Phantom Breaker Omnia and saying, oh, so this is their very first game? Dang, they got a lot of characters or something. So the game just, started out like they think Phantom Breaker Omnia is the first entry of the game. This is the fourth entry of Phantom Breaker. They don't know about Phantom Breaker Vanilla for the 360. They don't know about Phantom Breaker Another Code for the Sega Ring Edge Arcade. They don't know about Phantom Breaker Extra, which released on 2013 for the PS3 and Xbox One that was region free. They don't fucking know. They didn't fucking care. They even thought that this was a spin-off while Phantom Breaker Battleground was the real game. So, in fact, there was even a Phantom Breaker Battleground limited edition, physical. I said, fuck that. I didn't care for Phantom Breaker Battleground because I hated it so much compared to the original Phantom Breaker fighting game. And that's why I got the limited run physical thing, because I love Phantom Breaker. And that's why it fucking hurts to see where Phantom Breaker Omnia is right now, where the current state it is. I expected worse. Sorry, let me not say this. I put my expectation low, but I still wind up coming a little bit disappointed. And that fucking hurts a lot. And with that, goodbye.